My Lord and my God. My Lord and my God. So those are the words that St. Thomas the Apostle says when he recognizes Jesus. When he recognizes the risen Lord. Not when he hears his voice, not when he looks into his eyes, but when Thomas sees the wounds, those 5 precious wounds, the nail marks in Jesus' hands and feet, and the cut in his side, the wound in his side. That's when he recognizes Jesus. He recognizes him in these marks. The risen Jesus, who is glorified, he has these marks on his body. Everything else has been healed. Everything else he received during his bitter passion has been healed except for these 5 wounds. Even now in heaven, as he sits at the right hand of God the Father, he has these wounds. And they're a reminder of the perfect sacrifice that he made for each of you, for me, to redeem us and bring us back to God. Put another way, it's the permanent reminder of God's divine mercy. These marks on Jesus' body. When we see a depiction in art of a risen Jesus, it doesn't matter how the artist drew him, even what color the hair was or the eyes. But when we see those marks in his hands and his feet and his side, we know that is an image of the risen Jesus. We see that in the marks. We see that imprint of God's divine mercy that goes on forever and ever. And now, if you've heard me preach a few times, you probably noticed that I preach about mercy quite often. And yet, all the words that I could possibly say about God's divine mercy don't even come close to doing justice to it. Don't even come close to conveying the message of God's divine mercy that he has for you. Brilliant theologians who know all the doctrine, all the scriptures, wonderful charismatic speakers, preachers who can come up with quippy phrases and really impactful examples. Even their words are not sufficient to describe God's divine mercy. This infinite love. In fact, words cannot capture it. Images of an ocean are not enough. You have to experience God's mercy. You have to encounter it in Jesus Christ, who is the source of mercy. And so what I'm going to ask you to do is join in with me just for a brief meditation, a brief reflection. And it's really intended to bring you closer to Jesus, to experience in a way God's divine mercy, an actual encounter with him. All you have to do, you can do it right in the pew. You don't have to get up, you don't have to say anything. But just participate as best you can with your heart and soul. And as we begin this, what I would ask is to just try to put everything aside. Whatever you came, whatever happened before Mass on the way, the best you can, set that aside. From earlier in this week, joy, sufferings, maybe a big thing, maybe a little thing. Whatever it is, the best you can, try to set that aside and focus on Jesus. It can be helpful to look at the crucifix. Or maybe you have a rosary or some other holy picture with you that you can look at. I have a little tiny picture of Jesus and divine mercy, because this message, I need to hear this too, for me to look at. So don't be afraid if I'm not looking at you. Or maybe you even close your eyes and just picture Jesus. So don't do this if you're tired, because I don't want anyone to fall asleep. But whatever way you can focus on the Lord now. You don't even have to look at me. Look at Jesus, look at a picture of him, imagine him. And just focus on his presence now being here among us, in this church, in this place. Imagine yourself perhaps in the upper room. You're with the apostles. Maybe you're even St. Thomas himself. You're in his place. And as Jesus comes into that upper room, he looks at you. You see him face to face. And it's a look not of judgment or condemnation, but of love, of mercy, of God's divine mercy. And as he shows his hands and his feet, those wounds, you recognize him, just like St. Thomas, saying, "My Lord and my God." And as he looks back at you, he has a message of mercy. Maybe it's even just as simple as, "I forgive you. I love you." Maybe even now he's speaking something so personal to you, something that you need to hear from him directly. And as you look at him, as you look at his wounds, you feel God's mercy like a wave washing over you. God's divine mercy coming to you now in this place. And as it passes over you, it's not gone, but now you're immersed in it, surrounded by God's loving mercy as you look at him and as he looks at you. He wants to heal you of every sin. Of course, those sins that we're always battling with, that we feel like we're always confessing. Maybe I'm always yelling at my kids too much, fighting with my parents, whatever it might be. Those things on the surface, yes, he's healing you right there. He wants to forgive you. But now even deeper, brothers and sisters. As he looks at you with that merciful gaze, he wants to heal you and forgive you of those greater sins. Maybe those great regrets you've had in your life, things you wish you'd never done. He's not here to condemn you for those, but he wants to forgive you. Every sin. He wants to take away every sin from you and forgive you. Even those things that maybe you're too ashamed to tell anyone. Even those things that you think can't be forgiven. He's here to tell you they can. His infinite mercy is bigger than anything you could have ever done. And he wants to forgive you. Lovingly forgive you. Even those things that you say, "God can't love me after this." But he does. He shows you his wounds, saying, "This is how much I love you. I want to forgive you of everything. Don't put anything in the way of my mercy." But it's not just forgiveness. Now he wants to heal you. Heal you of those wounds, those places you've been wounded by your own sins. Those places where you've been wounded by the sins of others. In your relationships, especially the relationship with our Father in heaven. But with those around us, he wants to heal you. Just like when he was risen from the dead, all of his wounds, all the scrapes and cuts are healed. And now in a glorified body. That's what he wants to do, is not just take away the sin, not just cleanse you, but now forgive you, heal you, restore you, make you more a daughter of God, make you more a son of God, giving you this message of hope, hope in his mercy, that there is forgiveness for every one of us. He gave so much. He won't let anything get in the way of saving you. You just have to accept his mercy. Immerse yourself in his mercy. And he wants you to stay here as long as you can. Come back often. Stay here in the moments of silence after the homily. Stay here in the moments throughout the Mass, especially as Jesus is going to come to you in the sacrament of the Eucharist. The same Jesus who looks on you with love and gives you his mercy now gives you his very self body, blood, soul, and divinity, because he loves you, to heal you, to transform you. So, brothers and sisters, stay here as long as you can. Jesus, Son of the living God, have mercy on me, a sinner. Jesus, Son of the living God, have mercy on me, a sinner. Jesus, have mercy on me. Jesus, have mercy. Jesus, have mercy. Jesus, mercy. Jesus, mercy. Jesus.